Hello everyone, welcome back to Biophilia, your all-time study mate. Today we are going to complete this chapter with the final discussion on regulation and disorders of the excretory products and its elimination. If you like this video and get some help, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our amazing channel Biophilia. So after completion of part 1, 2 and 3 that will be linked down in the description box, we now here at the final part of this chapter understanding about the regulation of the kidney action. अब kidney action कैसे होता है, कैसे manage होता है, everything will be controlled of ADH. सबसे पहले हम देखेंगे how ADH is going to control or regulate the function. So ADH is going to be coming in control for the osmoregulation part. So osmoregulation में अगर कोई भी disturbances है, then there is going to be activation, and because of the changes in the blood volume, से blood volume अगर increase हो जाता है, blood fluid volume increase हो रहा है या ionic concentration changes हो रहे हैं, then that is going to trigger and that is going to activate the release of ADH. And what is ADH? ADH is antidiuretic hormone. What is it? It is the antidiuretic hormone. Now this antidiuretic hormone which is going to be released by the neurohypophysis. What is neurohypophysis? Neurohypophysis is a part of pituitary gland. So if you don't know about this, then you can surely go and check out about the chapters regarding hormones, and the link will be provided down in the description box. So you can very well understand about the hormone, that is antidiuretic hormone, as well as you can in detail understand about the neurohypophysis. So neurohypophysis से ADH is going to get activatedly released, and it is going to occur when there is excessive loss of fluid. यानी fluid जब body से बाहर जा रहा है. In case you can understand when is excessive fluid loss, majorly when there is dilute urine. Whenever there is dilute urine, as you can understand, we are studying the chapter regarding the urine. So dilute urine जब होगा तब excess water is going to go out of the body, that is going to trigger for the release of ADH hormone. Once the ADH has been released, what is it going to do? It is going to go for reabsorption, and the reabsorption in the later parts. They say in the previous video also I had told you, during the mechanism of concentration, the DCT is the part that is going to act for conditional reabsorption. So conditional reabsorption कौन करता है? It is the part of DCT. So the DCT पे जाके कौन काम करेगा? DCT पे आएगा ADH काम करने पे, और DCT को इंस्ट्रक्ट किया जाएगा that now you go and absorb more and more amount of water, because lot amount of water is getting out in the form of urine, and that is not the healthy condition. So now there is going to be release of ADH. ADH DCT पे जाके काम करेगा और पानी absorb करेगा, so that it can prevent diuresis, that is dilute urine formation is going to be prevented. Now how is going to this stop? अब start का तो पता चल गया कि excessive loss जब हो रहा है तब ये start होगा, but stop कब होगा? नहीं तो ऐसे हो जाएगा कि पानी इतना ज़्यादा absorb कर लिया कि now the urine which is formed is very concentrated and very difficult to excrete out. So that is not going to be a healthy case even. So there needs to be a balance. So ये ADH का release जो होगा वो कब stop हो जाएगा? When there is going to be an increase in body fluid. So excessive fluid loss हुआ तब क्या हुआ? Body fluid कम हो गया, blood volume कम हो गया, तब ये start हुआ. But once it is increasing, what will happen? There is going to be suppression of the ADH release, and that will complete the feedback कि अभी it has been regulated. Now you don't release ADH, now you don't reabsorb water, because everything is going smoothly. So how did the blood volume increase? Because whatever the water had been reabsorbed, where it did go? It had gone into the body fluids, and once it reached into the body fluid, वो जब increase हो गया तब ADH को क्या बोला गया? ADH, now you don't come, your work is over. So finally, after that, what did happen? The ADH is also going to affect the kidney. And how is it going to affect the kidney's function? By restricting the blood vessels. And blood vessels को जब restrict किया जाएगा, constrict किया जाएगा, what will happen? This is going to increase the blood pressure. And once there is increase in blood pressure, what is going to happen? Because of the increase in blood pressure, there is going to be increase in the glomerular blood flow. Glomerular blood flow, blood pressure increase हो गया. Therefore, the GFR, that is the glomerular filtration rate, that is occurring in the glomerulus, this is going to increase. And because of the GFR, it is going to increase. The filtration is going to be much more efficient. वो बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छे से होगा, and that is the reason the second function of the ADH hormone. So first वो कहाँ act करेगा? First act करेगा majorly on the DCT for reabsorption of water. Secondly, it is also going to act on the glomerulus. Majorly not on exactly glomerulus, but for the constriction of the blood vessel, so that the glomerular blood flow and the blood pressure is going to increase. The second thing is going to be under the control of JGA. Now what is JGA? JGA is nothing but called as juxtaglomerular apparatus. What is it? It is the juxtaglomerular apparatus. As we have understood about juxtaglomerular nephrus, that is going to be about the juxtaglomerular apparatus, and this apparatus is what is it going to do? It is going to operate on a multi-hormonal system. Multi-hormonal यानी जैसे ADH सिर्फ एक hormone release हो रहा था for control, here many hormones are going to get released side by side, and that is going to entirely constitute what? The renin angiotensin aldosterone system, also called as RAS. Okay, so RAS is the second thing that is going to help in control of the kidneys. So once there is glomerular blood pressure that is falling down, यानी जैसे ही GFR कम हो रहा है, now GFR is getting decreased, that means blood pressure is getting decreased, the filtration is not proper. Once the filtration is not proper, what is going to happen? Here in the flow chart you can very well understand. जैसे ही blood pressure fall होगा, the first step is going to be to release renin. As soon as the renin is released, from where is renin going to get released? Renin is going to get released from the JG cells. Okay, juxtaglomerular cells are going to release the renin. Renin जैसे ही release होगा, it is going to act as a catalyst, and now it will help the angiotensinogen. What is angiotensinogen? Angiotensinogen is in inactive form. How did I know? Because it is having a suffix that is of gen. So this is going to be a inactive form, और ये inactive form को active form में convert किया जाएगा, that is angiotensin 1. And once the angiotensin is going to be formed, this angiotensin is going to react with the catalyst, that enzyme, that is angiotensin converting enzyme, to form the angiotensin 2. As the angiotensin 2 is formed, what is going to happen? The GFR, that is the glomerular blood pressure, is going to increase, and this increase is going to be because the arterioles are going to get constricted, and once the arterioles are going to get constricted, there is going to be rise in the blood pressure. So that is one thing that is going to occur because of the RAS, that is renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So यहाँ पे हमने दो चीजें तो देख ली. One, that was about the renin. We saw about renin. We also saw about angiotensin. But what about aldosterone? So what is going to happen? The angiotensin 2 over here, the angiotensin 2 is going to act on the adrenal gland. ये कौन सा gland है? This gland is going to be your adrenal gland, and on the adrenal gland, when it is going to act, there is going to be release of aldosterone. So once the aldosterone is released, the aldosterone is working on the kidneys and that is going to help for sodium retention. जैसे ही sodium retain हो जाएगा, what will happen? The water is also going to retain and that is also going to increase the blood pressure. जैसे ही सोडियम अंदर रह जाएगा, सोडियम अंदर है, that means what is happening? Sodium is where? Sodium is remaining inside the kidneys. सोडियम अगर सोडियम आयंस किडनी के अंदर है, ये ज्यादा है, what is going to happen? To keep a balance, the chlorine ions are going to come out, and when the chlorine ion comes out, along with chlorine, water is going to come out, and once the water comes out, what will happen? The pressure increases, and once the pressure increases, your GFR is also going to increase. So that is how with the flowchart you can very well understand and how the blood volumes and the blood pressure is going to increase. The next is going to be atrial natriuretic factor, that is ANF. This is going to work opposite to the RAS system. RAS system में क्या हो रहा था? The GFR was getting increased, whereas the ANF now is going to work to decrease the blood volume and the blood pressure. So जैसे ही blood pressure या blood volume बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है, then the walls of atria are going to get understood by it. Now the walls of atria, since they have understood, they have been getting the signals that there is increase in blood volume and blood pressure. Now it needs to decrease, and for the decrease, the ANF is going to be released. Now the ANF is going to be the boss, or is going to be the control check on the ADH system as well as on the RAS system. Why? Because both ADH and RAS, they are working for the increased activity, right? Whereas ANF का क्या काम है? ANF का काम है चीजों को कम करना, right? So that is keeping a check on everyone. So अगर ANF ज्यादा काम करेगा तो ADH और RAS संभाल लेंगे, और अगर ADH और RAS ने ज्यादा काम करना शुरू कर दिया or it is getting out of control, then ANF is going to start and keep check and balance onto the kidney functioning. And now how is it going to occur? It is going to inhibit the reabsorption of sodium ions. So sodium ions अगर kidney में कम रहे, what is going to happen? As I told you previously, kidney के अंदर अगर sodium ions कम है, यानी sodium ions को बाहर फेंक रहे हैं, what will happen? The chlorine ions are going to stay inside, and once the chlorine ions are staying inside, the water is also staying in the kidney. And once the water is staying into the kidney, finally what is going to happen? Once the water is in the kidney, यानी filtrate में है, not exactly in the kidney, but it is in the filtrate, finally water will be more in the urine as well. यानी वहाँ पे क्या हो जाएगा? Urine is going to go dilute. अगर ANF ने बहुत ज़्यादा काम करना शुरू कर दिया, तो what will happen? Urine will be dilute because sodium ions का reabsorption नहीं हो रहा है. Sodium ions are thrown into the blood. Blood में sodium ions का level increase हो रहा है. That is the case of ANF. Whereas RAS system क्या करेगा? RAS system will completely work opposite to it, forming concentrated urine. So that is the system that is going to be for checks and balances on the kidney functioning. Now we see the abnormal constituents of urine. Normally you are going to see some electrolytes. This is sodium हो गया, chlorine हो गया. Then you see the byproducts, then like drugs हो गए या creatinine levels हो गए. But creatinine levels in some amount is okay. But if the amounts are increasing at abnormals, then it is a abnormal constituent of urine. The most common is going to be what? Urea. यूरिया तो होना बहुत जरूरी है. यूरिया इज अ नॉर्मल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट. यूरिया यूरिन में होना इज वेरी कॉमन, राइट? इट नीड्स टू बी देयर. बट व्हाट इज abnormal? Abnormal are these 5 substances. So if यूरिन में किसी को प्रोटीन मिल जाता है, प्रोटीन which specifically albumin, if albumin is seen in the case of urine sample, then it is being indication that the person is suffering from either injury to any sort of renal duct, कोई भी it can be in the case of kidneys, the ureters, or anywhere कोई भी अगर cell को damage है, then the protein albumin can be seen. It can be also the case of glomerulonephritis, यानी when there is inflammation of the glomerulus or the nephron, in that case also the protein can be seen in the form of urine. Because what is, it is very simple understanding. अगर यहाँ पे inflammation है, okay, there is inflammation of the nephron. What you are understanding? Nephron में we had seen that there are going to be slit pores और there are filtration slits. जो filtration slits पहले बहुत छोटी छोटी हुआ करती थी, उसमें से the albumin was not passing, right? Albumin did not pass. So that when it did not pass, what was happening? It was no amount in urine. Urine में वहाँ पे albumin no नहीं होता था. But now what is happening? Because of the inflammation, what has happened? What is the change? The slit pores have increased. अभी उनके बीच का जो gap है, वो gap बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया है, and now it can pass. And once it can pass, it is going to appear into the urine. And once it appears into the urine, you can understand about the condition that is glomerulonephritis. Now that is the thing that you can correlate with the things of the mechanism of urine formation. The second thing is going to be bile salts or pigments that are being seen in the urine. That can be in the case of jaundice, because jaundice में liver functioning कम हो जाती है. When the liver is not functioning well, then the bile pigments are going to be disturbed, and because of that, bile salts and pigments are going to be excreted out in the form of urine. Then there can be glucose that can be observed in the urine. Glucose, once it is coming out, it is coming in diabetes mellitus. So this is the extreme case. जब urine में glucose दिखना शुरू होगा, what is the normal thing that you expect? That in the case of diabetes mellitus, वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है कि जो blood sugar है, blood sugar level is increasing. Now blood sugar level increase इतनी हो चुकी है that now the cells cannot have the ability to take or absorb any more sugar or to burn any more sugar. Now where does the body throw the sugar? अब सर्कुलेटिंग शुगर, सर्कुलेटिंग में जो कैपेसिटी है वो कैपेसिटी हो गई है फुल. अब जो सेल्स थे वो सेल्स की कैपेसिटी हो गई है फुल. नाउ वेयर डज द ब्लड शुगर गो? अभी भी ब्लड शुगर अगर ज्यादा है तो ये ब्लड शुगर को क्या करना पड़ेगा? इट नीड्स टू बी गेटेड एक्सक्रीटेड. नाउ एक्सक्रीटेड वो कहाँ से जाएगा? इट विल गेट एक्सक्रीटेड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ यूरिन, एंड इन दैट केस द एक्सेसिव ब्लड शुगर is going to be seen in the case of urine. So that is the case of diabetes mellitus. Then we see the ketone bodies in some patients. So ketone bodies, that is byproducts of protein digestion. So protein digestion जब होता है, protein digestion की वजह से ketone bodies are going to be formed. So protein digestion, normally once there is protein digestion, ketone bodies are not formed or they are in very minute quantities. वो urine में नहीं दिखेंगे. But once there is the case of diabetes mellitus, कि इतना ज़्यादा डाइजेशन ऑफ प्रोटीन हो रहा है because of abnormal hormone secretion, more and more blood sugar is increasing because even the protein, the cells are getting digested to convert it into sugar. So in that case, ketone bodies can be found in the urine along with the sugar. Along other than diabetes mellitus, it can also be a case of prolonged fasting. Prolonged fasting में क्या हो गया है? Fats burn हो चुके हैं, starch burn हो चुका है, and after starch, still you are not eating. And once you are not eating, now the only source of energy is going to be what? Source of energy is going to be your protein. And once the protein starts degrading or once the protein starts digesting, ketone bodies are formed. So that in that case also urine can show the presence of ketone bodies. Creatinine level can increase in the form of hyperthyroidism, or it can also increase in the form of starvation. So these are the different abnormal constituents and their conditions where they are seen, or in what samples, or what can be the conclusion that you can derive if you see these abnormal constituents in the urine. The next is the role of other organs in excretion. Major organ of excretion कौन होगा? Major organ is going to be none other than the kidney. Kidney is the major organ, but other than kidney, there are going to be other organs in our body which are going to help in excretion. The first one is going to be the lungs. So यहाँ पे कौन सा excretory substance की बात हो रही है? It is being spoken about the release of large amount of carbon dioxide. So body does not need carbon dioxide. Body is going to throw that carbon dioxide that is going to excrete it out by the lungs, and large amount of water is also being excreted in the form of water vapor, right? So water which is released out or excreted out through lungs, it is small amount in the case of hot and humid climate, जबकि बहुत ज़्यादा large amounts होगा in the case of cold and dry climates. So even the rate of ventilation and what is the outer temperature and what are the other things that is going to affect the amount of water that is lost through the lungs. Along with carbon dioxide and some significant amount of water vapors, even some volatile materials are also going to be eliminated through the lungs. So breath jab exhale hogi, then these are also getting excreted along with it. The next is going to be the site, that is liver. So liver is going to be the major site for the elimination or excretion of cholesterol, then for the bile pigments, then degraded steroid hormones, the vitamins, and even some drugs. So as I told you, some drugs can be excreted out through urine. Some are going to go and get eliminated in the liver. So here you can also correlate कि liver में majority excretion जो है वो liver में होगा of the bile pigments, but sometimes because of jaundice, when the liver is not functioning well to excrete out the bile pigments and the bile salts, then उस case में the urine can show the presence of bile pigments and bile salts. So that is the case how you understand that the liver is not functioning well. Now the liver is going to secrete bile, and the bile is going to take all these materials, that is cholesterol, the bile pigments, then the steroid hormones, ये सब कहाँ ले जाया जाएगा? इसको intestine में ले जाया जाएगा और intestine से feces में दिखेंगे. So feces में if you are seeing bile pigments, if you are seeing steroid hormones, if you are seeing formation or presence of drugs, then that can be understood because it is a normal process. But bile pigments को urine में find करना is a abnormal constituent. So this is very important to understand. Feces में bile pigments is okay. Urine में bile pigments का present होना is not okay. The third is going to be the skin. Now skin is also going to act as an excretory organ because skin is going to have some glands called as the sweat glands and the sebaceous glands. So sweat glands क्या करेंगे? Sweat glands are going to produce sweat, which is going to be a watery fluid, and along with being watery, there is going to be salt, that is NaCl. There is going to be a small amount of urea that is being excreted. There can be some amount of amino acids. There can be some amount of glucose that is coming out as in the form of sweat. Then the sebaceous glands are going to release sebum. What are they releasing? They are releasing sebum. This sebum is going to be wax-like. This wax-like protective secretion is going to allow to have a layer on the skin ताकि आपकी जो skin है वो dry ना हो जाए या ज़्यादा evaporative loss of water ना हो जाए. For all that functioning, the sebum is going to be released and it is going to act as a protective oily covering. So what is the primary function of sweat? Primary function of sweat. So when do you sweat exactly? स्वेटिंग इफेक्ट तभी आता है जब आपको बहुत ज्यादा काम किया है, बहुत ज्यादा तेज रनिंग की है। रनिंग करने के बाद क्या होता है, आपकी बॉडी का इंटरनल टेम्परेचर बढ़ जाता है। when the internal temperature increases because lot of energy has been released, and once the energy has been released, temperature is increasing, and to decrease that temperature, the cooling effect is going to be brought up by sweating. So sweating से जो water release होगा, this water is going to get evaporated because of the heat. वो कहाँ से heat या कहाँ से energy लेगा for the evaporation? It will take the body heat. And because of the body heat, the evaporation is occurring, the temperature is going to decrease. Now, what is the role of the sebaceous glands? Sebaceous glands में there are going to be some sterols, there are going to be some hydrocarbons, some waxes, which are going to get eliminated through the formation of sebum. So this sebum waxy coating is going to be helpful if it is released in a certain quantity. That is going to help for, the skin, so that it remains protected from the external environment. So that was about the 3 organs other than kidneys which are going to have their role in excretion. The next is the diseases of the excretory system. अभी तक हमने जो भी किया था, that was all about the basic constituents or basic functioning of the excretory system. Now is the diseased condition. Diseased condition में first we are seeing about the nephritis. Nephritis में क्या होता है, there is going to be a infection caused by a bacteria, and this bacteria is going to be leading to inflammation of kidney. Because of inflammation of kidney, what is going to happen? The nephritis is going to be caused. The next is glomerulonephritis. That is, nephritis में क्या था? Nephritis is regarding kidneys. Glomerulonephritis is nothing but inflammation of the glomeruli. So very significant thing we had very well understood in the previous part about abnormal constituents कि nephritis और glomerulonephritis को कैसे पहचानते हैं? Because of albumin presence. अगर albumin present है in the urine, then you can think of that the patient with the sample is regarding nephritis or glomerulonephritis. The third we are seeing is pyelonephritis, that is inflammation of the tissue of kidneys in the pelvis region. So यहाँ पर pelvis region है, ऊपर में glomeruli and the kidney inflammation है. The next is going to be cystitis, that is the inflammation of the urinary bladder. So here you can see in the photograph as well how is the inflamed bladder and how is it going to cause sometimes bleeding can be caused, sometimes there can be irritation and there can be inflammation of the urinary bladder. The next is renal caliculi. What is renal caliculi? Caliculi means there is going to be some sort of insoluble mass. Insoluble mass say that you can refer to stone or it can be a sort of crystallized salts, and that is, renal caliculi is in simple terms known as kidney stone. So बहुत लोगों ने ये नाम तो पक्का सुना होगा, that is kidney stone. This kidney stone is nothing but the renal caliculi. So this renal caliculi, this insoluble mass is going to go and get stuck into some or the other renal tubule, और renal tubule में फंस जाने की वजह से क्या होगा? The urine formation or urine output is not going to be normal, and it can be sometimes very painful when the person is urinating. So from that also you can understand that the person can be suffering from renal caliculi. The next is polyuria. What is poly? Poly means there is somewhat increase. So once there is increase in the amount of urine passed, that is polyuria. The next is uremia. Uremia, what is it? Once there is increase in the concentration of urea, यूरिया का concentration urine में बढ़ जाए तो it is normal, but अगर यूरिया का concentration blood में बढ़ जाए then it is abnormal, it is a disease condition. यूरिया को कहाँ दिखना चाहिए? It should be in the urine and it should not be in the blood. So that is uremia. Next is going to be alkaptonuria, which is going to be a genetic disease. And in this genetic disease, there is going to be a sort of acid which is getting excreted out of the urine. The next is going to be pyrouria. This is pyro is related to the word of pus. So there is going to be pus in the urine. And here I have tried to show you the image about the urine sample of a person that is having pyruria. The next is going to be glycosuria, which is present of glucose in the urine. Or in which conditions do you see glucose in the urine? You are going to see it in the case of diabetes mellitus. In what case? Diabetes mellitus. So that is about the presence of glucose in the urine. Next is going to be hematuria, that is presence of blood. Hema is going to refer to the word blood. So अगर blood urine में दिख रहा है, that means there is some internal bleeding. Because of the internal bleeding, this blood has been seen into the urine. So even the case of hematuria, I have tried to show you the sample. So polyuria में urine बहुत ज़्यादा cloudy yellowish होगा, whereas in hematuria it will be reddish in color because of presence of blood. So you should not get confused if you are eating beet. Okay, if you are eating beetroot, not to get confused that you are getting the blood in your urine. Sometimes there are some drugs, there are some foods. So beetroot खाने से hematuria नहीं होता है, right? Once there is confirmation that the person is having blood in his urine, then and then only the condition is called as hematuria. Blood का कलर रेड और बीटरूट या ड्रग्स खाने की वजह से रेड कलर होना is different. So not to get scared, eating beetroot, you are not going to have any sort of bleeding that is causing your red urine or pinkish urine. Right? So that was just a fun part to remember. Many people think, why did my urine go pink or red after eating beetroot? So that is just because of the pigment that is getting excreted out in the urine. So next is going to be in detail study, that is diabetes insipidus. So diabetes का क्या meaning होता है? Diabetes is meaning of overflow. What is diabetes? It is nothing but overflow. Whereas insipidus, that means there is going to be tastelessness. What does insipidus mean? It means tasteless. Whereas if you consider the part of mellitus, what is mellitus? Mellitus में word जो mel आता है, it is regarding honey, and honey is sweet. So it is regarding what? It is regarding diabetes mellitus sweet, that is glucose is being interested into it. Whereas diabetes insipidus is regarding the kidney, or more specifically, it is going to be regarding the antidiuretic hormone. So antidiuretic hormone or ADH is going to be one of the hormone which is going to monitor and regulate the functioning of kidneys. So we have very well understood in the few minutes back and how the ADH is going to efficiently regulate the functioning of kidneys. अगर ये functioning prevent नहीं हो रहा है, इसका कोई stoppage नहीं है, then what is going to happen? There is going to be a lot more dilute urine, because ADH क्या कर रहा था? ADH was allowed to have the water reabsorbed. But अगर ADH release ही नहीं हो रहा है, if there is deficiency of ADH, what will happen? Because of ADH deficiency, there is going to be output of large amounts of urine. There is going to be excessive thirst because body में water content रह ही नहीं रहा है. Everything is getting out excreted in the form of urine. So there is going to be frequent urination, very dilute urine pass, excessive thirst. Then that can be the case where the person is suffering for deficiency of ADH, and that is leading to the disease called as diabetes insipidus. So as the name, it is very similar to diabetes mellitus. You should not get confused because diabetes insipidus किसके लिए है? Diabetes insipidus is for the deficiency of ADH, whereas diabetes mellitus is going to be the insulin deficiency, which is regarding the blood sugar levels. So बहुत ज़्यादा blood sugar अगर urine में आ रही है, then that is the case of diabetes mellitus. Then if the condition is dilute urine, excessive thirst, large amount of urination, that is going to be diabetes insipidus. Next is hemodialysis. So आपको जब पता चला है कि now you are suffering from a disease which is been affecting the kidney and the kidney is not functioning normally. When the kidney does not function normally, kidney functioning जब fail हो रहा है या it is getting decreased, when the kidney functioning is decreased or it is not normal, the person is asked to go for dialysis. What is it? Commonly it is called as dialysis. Person is on dialysis, person has gone for the treatment of dialysis, and in the world out that is dialysis, but for us we call it as hemodialysis. Why? Because किसको आप filter out कर रहे हो, you are getting the blood involved, that is the hemo word. So blood is the taken out from the artery. So how is the procedure? सबसे पहले आर्टरी में से खून को बाहर निकाला जाएगा. It is going to get cooled, and after it is getting cooled, because why cooled? Because यहाँ पे body temperature से कम जाना है, right? It is cooled, that means it is body temperature से कम temperature पे blood को लाया जाएगा. Anticoagulant is going to be mixed. Anticoagulant which heparin will be mixed. Why? Because अगर anticoagulant को mix नहीं किया, then the blood will get clot. और अगर blood clot हो जाएगा, then it is going to go and clot and clog the entire tubing system of the machine. And the apparatus, that is the artificial kidney, उसमें कोई blockage नहीं होना चाहिए because of the clot formation. So anticoagulants will be mixed into the blood, and now because of the anticoagulants mixed, blood में कोई clotting नहीं होगी. Blood can flow slowly and steadily through the channels which are bound by the cellophane membrane. Cellophane membrane is going to be impermeable to macromolecules, यानी जैसे filtration slits को allow नहीं करते थे बड़े बड़े proteins को to go into the filtrate. Similarly, macromolecules will not be allowed, like the plasma proteins will not be allowed, but small are allowed. Small solutes like urea, nitric acid, or the creatinine, minerals, ions, all these are small solutes. These are allowed, these are permeable to go through the cellophane membrane, and once these are passing through the cellophane membrane, that means these are getting excreted. Right? Whereas the plasma protein, these needs to stay in the blood, they should not go and get excreted. So that is the reason that cellophane membrane will be impermeable to the plasma protein. Now how is it going to occur? अब ये जो permeable solutes है, ये permeable solutes कहाँ जाएंगे? Permeable solutes जाएंगे into the dialyzing fluid. This dialyzing fluid is already been present in the artificial kidney or the dialysis machine, and it is not going to contain any sort of nitrogenous waste. कोई भी nitrogenous waste नहीं होगा. And what nitrogenous waste are we speaking about? We are speaking about urea. So हम जो यूरिया के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, urea is not going to be present in the dialyzing fluid. All the urea is going to be coming from the patient's body. And because of that, what is going to happen? There is going to be a process wherein the small solutes will be separated from the macromolecules through a permeable membrane that is selective in nature. यानी macromolecules को allow नहीं किया है. Small little solutes have been allowed to pass through them, and that entire process is nothing but called as dialysis. So जो exactly काम जो kidney करती है naturally, when the patient is not having the condition where the kidney can help in the formation or the excretion of the nitrogenous waste, then artificially with the help of artificial kidney or dialysing machine, you are going to excrete or do the functioning of the kidneys. So finally जब ये nitrogenous waste का exchange हो चुका है, then what will happen? the blood is going to come out of all those bhulbhulaiya of tubes, and then finally once it is out of the artificial kidney, what will happen? Since the blood was cooled initially, यहाँ पे blood का temperature बढ़ा दिया जाएगा. And how much is it warmed? It is warmed up to the body temperature, and once it is warmed up to the body temperature, there is going to be mixing of antiheparin. एंटीहेपेरिन यानी यहाँ पे कोएगुलेंट को मिक्स किया जाएगा. कोएगुलेंट को मिक्स किया because previously anticoagulant heparin was added so that they do not form clot into the machine. But जैसे ही अभी उसको बॉडी में वापस भेजना है through the vein, what needs to be done? It needs to be taken to the normal condition जहाँ पे बॉडी में कट होने पे खून को क्लॉट होना जरूरी है. So in that case, if the anticoagulant was previously added, now the coagulant or antiheparin should be added before returning the blood so that it can go and have the normal functioning again. So that was the entire process how the hemodialysis is going to function. Now finally, जब हीमोडायलिसिस करने के बहुत दिनों बाद बहुत सेशंस हो गए हीमोडायलिसिस के, person is on hemodialysis for about say 5 years, 10 years, but still there is no improvement, then what is the last and final cure for it? Last and final cure is going to be nothing but the kidney transplant. So what is kidney transplant? एक किडनी को जो डोनर होगा वो डोनर से रिसीवर को दे दो, so that the healthy donor or the healthy kidney can be received by the patient. So the patient is going to receive the donated kidney, and because of the donated kidney is healthy, it can function normally as the previous kidney used to work. So this is the ultimate corrective method. इसके बाद अगर kidney transplant भी successful नहीं है, then the person finally has to live and survive his entire life on basis of hemodialysis. There is no other alternative. Further treatment after kidney transplant, there is no treatment. So now what is going to happen? Whatever is the functional kidney, what is the healthy kidney को donor से लाया जाएगा. The donor can be preferably a close relative. हो सकता है कि अगर कोई child है तो child का closest कौन होगा? It can be his sibling. Twin है तो very good. If not sibling, then it can be either mother or it can be father, or it can be then your nearest ones, that is it can be your grandparents. So all these can be the people who can be a possible closest donor for that particular child. So once it is a closest relative, what will happen? The chances of rejection of the immune system will be lowered, and rejection कम होने पे then there is a high possibility that the kidney transplant will be successful. So what is the rejection procedure? Rejection होता है because the immune system is going to protect the body. Protection of the body is very important because anything that is coming outside from the body, it is not going to be recognized as a normal thing. उसको बोला जाएगा कि ये तो दुश्मन है, दुश्मन ने अपने बॉडी पे अटैक किया है, and then the antibodies will come and destroy that kidney. That should not happen. So immune system should be fooled. And how is it going to be fooled? It is going to be fooled by suppressing the immune system. And suppressing the immune system is going to be one of the case जहाँ पे kidney transplant successful हो सकता है. So immune system of the receiver should be fooled each and every time so that the system does not attack onto the kidney. उसको वो चीज foreign नहीं लगे, वो उसको accept कर ले, and then the person can live a comparatively healthier life with the kidney transplant. So that was the entire story about how the normal functioning of kidney occurs, how in the case there can be abnormal constituents in urine, what can be the diseases regarding the system, and finally your diseases may the end treatment that can be given, that is either dialysis or even the last and final corrective method, that is kidney transplant. So after discussion about all in detail about this chapter about excretory system in humans, If you like this video and if you got some knowledge about it in detail, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our amazing channel. We will be posted with you for more and more chapters of your curriculum. So till we come back soon with the next chapter, keep studying, keep smiling. Bye bye everyone. Thank you.